Big political headlines of the week, in case you missed it. As we mentioned, Mayor Mamdani and the City Council opting to delay his executive budget, saying the state needs to deliver more money to the city. Governor Hochul standing firm as a hard no on this and other tax proposals, saying the city needs to get its own finances in order. We'll talk about that in a minute. Plus, after 2 months, the Department of Homeland Security finally receiving full funding after House Republicans relent on holding up any bills that didn't include additional funding for immigration forces. But this now opens the door for Republicans to begin the reconciliation process, possibly adding funding not allocated to those agencies in this bill. And in a 6-3 ruling, the Supreme Court has struck down Louisiana's congressional map allowing a majority black voter district. Some saying this ruling weakens the Voting Rights Act and allows for more racial gerrymandering, while Republicans argue, well, it helps everybody.
If you tell me I have to be white to serve in Congress from Louisiana, I can't do nothing about that.
We don't need to divide this country based on race and congressional districts. It needs to be based on communities of interest.
And there's lots of headlines to talk about, so we are bringing in right now our picks panel to talk more about this. So let's get to senior political reporter Henry Rossoff, city editor for City and State New York, Holly Pretsky, and Democratic strategist Trip Yang. So great to have all of you here. Holly, your first time on the show. Great to have you.
Thank you.
And so I just talked to Deputy Mayor Sue, new in the position, and I really wanted to talk to her about the budget overall. And this seems to be one of the more dramatic budget seasons that we've seen kind of play out between the state and the city here. She didn't have a whole lot to say besides that, maybe in terms of getting a budget done on time, besides that there will be looking at efficiencies and they still need the help from Albany. But Albany's saying we've kind of done enough.
Yeah, so the vibe this week with the speaker and mayor getting together and coming up with a plan to ask state government for more money, really the vibe to me, guys, I'm going on the limb a little bit here, was, you know, the little brother and the little sister got together and decided to ask mom for more money, and mom said, what happened to the money I gave you?
Right.
That very much seems to be what happened this week, and we're no further along into identifying agreed upon savings between the mayor's office and the city council, which is what the governor's really looking for, a concrete plan from the city to get its own house in order, especially the city housing voucher program known as FEPS, before she's willing to commit more money. So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, and it seems to be one of those things where a lot of it is behind closed doors, and they don't want to lay their cards out, Holly, because they want to see what the state's doing, and then they don't want to say put the cart before the horse. In fact, you tried really hard to get some answers, digging into a secret group of counselors. I want to play a clip of one of the videos you put out.
How was BNT? How was it? How was BNT?
I don't think anybody is going to tell you anything.
No, why not?
Because it's the way BNT works.
That's the way BNT works. So what is BNT, and what do we know about what's going on behind closed doors, Holly?
So the budget negotiating team is the group of city council members who are chosen, handpicked by the speaker to work on budget negotiations with the mayoral administration. So there's about 20 members on this team. It's pretty secretive. It's not like a committee or a chairmanship of a committee where it's a public thing that the speaker has to announce. It's a secret group. The speaker didn't want this list of members to be made public.
Okay.
But we wanted to figure out who they are because they are really powerful. Like, as an elected official, the most powerful thing that you do is decide how taxpayer money is spent, and these are the council members who are the ones talking about that. So they've met a handful of times. This is how the council, I mean, it's difficult to negotiate between 51 members what their priorities are, let alone negotiating with City Hall, with the mayor's office.
So the idea is they're behind closed doors negotiating what they would like the mayor to agree upon.
Yes, this is how the council is deciding to present a unified front and what they want to advocate for and how they want to push back on the mayoral administration. So we figured out who was part of that group, and then we staked out one of their meetings, and of course none of them wanted to disclose what they talked about during that meeting.
Yes.
Katie Honan would be jealous of your cell phone for a reporter for the city who's very well known for doing that. Yes.
I will chime in here and say that if you're a supporter or an observer of the relationship between Mayor Mamdani and Speaker Menon, this week is actually pretty good if you're a fan of both, because the storyline earlier this year is that the mayor and the speaker sometimes are on opposite sides. There's the buffer zone bill, etc. Right now, the city council speaker,
the city council seat for Eric Botch's former seat.
That's a great topic to talk about.
Not aligned on. One for Lindsey Boylan, one for Carl Wilson.
So to see the mayor and the speaker really join arms and say, the governor, we need some more funding. In this case, it was to roll back a tax credit for high earners mostly. Look, if you are a fan of city government working well, you want to see a productive relationship between the mayor and the speaker. The unresolved issue right now is how is the state, how is the state's relationship with the city? There's been some positives earlier this year, universal child care, pied-à-terre tax, but that one is still to be determined.
But Tripp, at this point, I feel like the governor keeps hammering, like, I'm helping you where I can. I'm giving you on this, I'm giving you on child care, I'm giving you on pied-à-terre tax, but like, guys, get together on a bit of a savings plan for me.
Which is what the deputy mayor seemed like she was talking about today. Look, we're still looking at efficiencies. We're still looking at cuts that won't impact New Yorkers. We just need to know what we're getting from the state before we can kind of get to final numbers there.
It's a little bit of a song and dance, yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised to see the governor saying, no, you can finish your budget without the state budget. You can do it. I've already told you what I'm going to give you. You guys need to figure this out. I was kind of surprised. I also thought that the city would need to wait until the state budget is completed
before the city. Which is the very
city,
typical cycle, yeah.
Because the state budget is way overdue. But it seemed like the governor was actually quite frustrated with the mayor and the speaker for delaying the city budget.
Yes, because she has been kind of saying, I'm throwing you bones here.
Yeah.
I do really quickly, before we get to redrawing of congressional lines, want to talk about that city council seat and why any of you think that Mayor Zohran Mamdani was pushed to kind of go after and endorse Lindsey Boylan in the end of the race. Tripp, you want to start here?
Yeah. So I'll say this. I'm not surprised that Carl Wilson won. He is a local chief of staff to the outgoing council member. Botcher, who's now a senator, is pretty well liked. And look, the west side of Manhattan, the history is that the successor typically gets most of the endorsements. Now, a lot of progressives endorsed Boylan, Brad Lander, WFP, Zohran Mamdani. And so, look, I don't necessarily view this as a black eye for the mayor, simply because the mayor's base is in Western Queens, North Brooklyn, very young, very WFP, DSA heavy areas. Manhattan is not his base.
Yeah, I guess the question is he going to endorse in the future for congressional races or so on and so forth, or is he going to stay out of it?
Is it for the endorsements he's already made with Lander and Valdez and so on?
Well, here's what I'll say, and I'll try to do this in 20 seconds or less. In politics, there's a difference between deal friends and real friends. Deal friends are folks that you work with, you may get along with, and you collaborate with, but at the end of the day, there's only a few folks that you actually want to stick your neck out for if it is an uphill challenge. Everyone has to make their own decision for themselves. It seems like Claire Valdez is one of the mayor's real friends, but again, everyone has to make that decision for themselves.
I think that's why it was a bit of a head scratcher, though, why he came out for Lindsey Boylan, because I don't think she's seen as one of his ride or die old allies. Like Claire Valdez was there on day one when he launched his mayoral campaign, and none of us thought that this was a real candidate. Claire Valdez was at that event. She's been with him. She's been with DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, his political home. Whereas Lindsey Boylan, it was kind of like, she was really against Cuomo, and she had a lot of activism to harm Mamdani's opponent, but it was a little bit confusing as to why he would stick his neck out like that in this difficult special election and difficult
district. You can make the argument that there is no Zohran Mamdani vanquishing Andrew Cuomo in the primary without Lindsey Boylan. And that goes beyond 2025. That goes to her being the first person to accuse then Governor Cuomo many years ago.
Yeah. We're going to leave it there. We don't have time for congressional maps, but that is an important topic which we'll talk about on our streaming show. Make sure you check out Henry's streaming, though, because he interviewed Dan Goldman and Brad Lander about their bagel orders, and it was really good. That is a hot debate.
For what it's worth, what bagels mean to New York and Iran and Israel and all some other things as well.
From chief political correspondent to chief bagel correspondent, all in the same breath. Henry, Holly, Tripp, great to have all of you here today.